Welcome, ladies and gentlemen, to a new episode of the X Button. I am one of your hosts, Alejandro. With me is the UNSC soldier,
Paul. What's up, everybody?
How you doing, Paul? This is their second to last episode of the year. Can you believe that?
And I can't believe that we have managed to do almost completely uninterrupted throughout almost, if not the whole year.
Yeah, with the exception of like a late posting of the previous episode. Even though we recorded it a little early, it went. The video version went live this week. The audio version went out on time because that's so easy to get going live. So, yeah, I can't believe we made it to December, and we made it. Yeah, compared to last year when we did the show, that we went like 10 episodes straight, and then the pandemic hit, and then we lost motivation and things.
2020 was a unique beast, to say the least.
2021 hasn't been different. It has just been a pile. But yeah, I can't wait for the holiday break, especially with all the games that I have a pile on that I'm gonna be playing. Because just to make it clear, this is Game of the Year season. We're not saying what our Game of the Year is. Obviously, something happened yesterday from when we recorded that has basically kicked off Game of the Year season. So that will be theirs. Doesn't mean it will be ours, our individual one. So, and kind of, I think I mentioned this in the previous week. I want to take the holiday time so we can actually play some games and really decide what our Game of the Year is. So I didn't want to rush into something just to get it out now. So, but yeah, we'll have one more episode next week, and then we'll take our sweet break, and we will start basically our second season of the X Button. Because when you go to the Anchor.fm, you can divide between seasons. So
that's cool.
So I'll try to be like, next year is going to be season 2.
Now, you were telling me that we recently passed a milestone with our audio listeners.
Yeah, we have reached like about 300 individual listens just on audio. So that's collectively from all the episodes. So that's pretty cool because I had not been keeping track of listenership as much over there like I did over our YouTube where we see views. More people have been listening in podcasts. So definitely got to keep an eye on
welcome
the
audio listeners. Yes. I gotta say, I forget that we have audio stuff sometimes because I'm so used to having to look into the camera and look at you on the camera. And I'm really glad to hear that there's enough people that have listened to us over the past year.
Yes. And I will say that us doing it on video makes the audio experience better because we're looking at each other. So we are not we know when to interject.
I can just jump right in, cut you off, and say, Alejandro, you're wrong, and look you in the face so you know that I'm messing with you.
Yes.
Which helps a lot.
Yes. It's a trip listening to those 2020 episodes compared to now.
Yeah. So. I did not, for a full apology to everybody involved, did not have the right mindset for it. And there's a lot going on.
It's not all on you. It was also on me.
I'm just saying, at least for my part of it, it was 2020 hit hard.
Yes.
Ooh, but
especially they're an interesting time capsule. They will always be fascinating because that's when we were hearing stuff and we were saying stuff, and then it actually happened, and we're like, man, was I wrong at saying some stuff there?
I almost don't want to go back because it makes it really real when I do. And one day, though, I'm going to sit down and I'm going to hit play on that first episode, and we're just going to see what happens.
Oh, yes. That first episode is a really fun one because, ironically, we talked about Game of the Year 2019 in that one. So, at least what mine was. So, enough with that preamble. We are, just like the last episode, we're not dividing the pieces like we did. We're just doing old school. So, starting again with what have we been playing. Ironically, there's 3 things this week, and I want to make it a topic before we dive into that topic. Paul, we finished Halo 5 right in the nick of time.
The day before.
Yes. And it almost felt like we finished it 2 hours before we learned that Halo Infinite was actually launching on
the day
weird. After. Yeah. So I was like, well, then we shouldn't have rushed if we had known that. But I'm glad we did, because I made a promise we were going to go through the Halo series all the way until Infinite, and we did it. Right now, the VOD is only in Twitch. It's going to be in YouTube soon. Yes, it's going to be in YouTube soon. But yeah, you can watch it there. Paul, what were your thoughts on Halo 5 now that we finished that very contentious campaign?
It definitely felt like a mid 2010s era shooter. They were obsessed with utilizing the power of like glowing light effects, which seemed to be like the selling point for a lot of that launch era titles. There was a lot of like glowing things, neon things, and it was just the whole game was that. Gameplay wise, mechanically, I had a ton of fun, as we established on our stream, which y'all can see. I'm gonna just angle that if I can, maybe. Okay, we'll just roll with that. I had a lot more fun because it was with you. Definitely.
Yes.
I enjoyed myself from moment to moment, but then overall I was like, man, so like nothing really happened of importance in the story. Not just overall, but like moment from like level to level, just like you said, there's like all this weird cut content and entire missions where there's just talk to this person, talk to that person, there's like a hub area, and then you're done. And I'm just like, whoa, wait, hold on, we had like this cool thing set up, what are we doing here? And then you had really cool missions like the Meridian set was really awesome. That's probably the most memorable part of the game to me, honestly. And I guess like the start was kind of cool, but then it was just then I played through 1 minute of Halo Infinite, basically recreated that scene where you're like dashing down the mountain, and I went, oh, okay, so I just can never go back to that. Okay, that's good to know. And we'll talk more about that later, but that's overall I think my thoughts before we delved any further into that. What about you?
And it's similar to the Halo 4 in a way that it's a game that when I'm thinking about it when not playing it, I don't think too highly on. But when we're playing it, it's so much fun because mechanically it's so sound and I like how it looked for its time. And it just strikes me how much that story amounts to nothing. Or it amounts to setting up for what's supposed to be big. But now that we know how they follow it up,
later on, remind me about the jump between 5 to Infinite, because I do have some thoughts, being like sort of a writer myself, that I really want to pick that apart for a minute later on.
Yes, I'll save the talk, but it does feel like there was I'll just save it for Infinite, because this is also kind of like a criticism for Infinite. But yeah, I enjoyed playing it with you. Halo 5 is a game that it's definitely designed for co-op. I mean, just look at the Warden design, the boss that you constantly have to fight over and over and over and over, that you have to hit in the back.
It plays like a Destiny boss where you have to have some people drawing its attention, the other one shooting in the back. Imagine if you had to do that by yourself.
I did.
On the AI to do that. I mean, you played it on Legendary by yourself, didn't you?
No, that was with friends. I'm not ever playing
I was worried about your mental
Legendary.
health there for a second.
If my mental health was like in a precarious situation playing it with friends, imagine just playing it by yourself, because that game has ammo scarcity and takes forever to take down an enemy when you're playing a Legendary. But I'm glad we were able to finish it and get it out of the way, but it still like stands that as a campaign, it's mechanically sound, but it's definitely the weakest Halo. That doesn't change even now.
Yeah, definitely.
And on Halo adjacent news, we went back to Destiny.
Yes.
For the 30th anniversary pack.
Which I did not expect to be as cool as it is.
Yes, me neither. It was the day of it launched. They launched the trailer. They showed that there was actually going to be Halo themed stuff. And the moment I saw the Magnum pistol, that's called the Forerunner in the game, and the battle rifle from Halo 2, the version from Halo 2, because that's what's interesting. If you play Halo 2, 3, 4, and 5, the battle rifle is so different in each game.
It is.
But the Halo 2 one is like the best one.
Because it completely replaced the I was going to say it replaced the assault rifle, but I almost think the SMG replaced the assault rifle, because they needed a reason for you to dual wield, and they were like, "Oh, it'd be ridiculous to dual wield assault rifles."
Exactly.
But yeah, so I love the battle rifle because I learned to love it, and then the DMR was introduced, I think, in 3, right?
That was in Reach.
I was Reach.
Yeah. There was no DMR on.
You're right. It was assault rifle that returned, and the battle rifle as well. Okay, I'm remembering now.
And there was no battle rifle in Reach. That's what's funny.
Right. That is also well, I guess you could say that was like, oh, before the battle rifle was invented for that stage. Anyway,
Yeah.
yeah, man, Halo 5's so weird. But anyway,
Yeah,
I'm still getting thrown off on that.
We're in Destiny
As
talk
far
right
as
now.
Destiny goes, I'm so happy that they put the Magnum in and that they made it stupid powerful, because that's what it needed to be. I know it's a meme at this point, but I love that it's an exotic that uses special ammo. I haven't unlocked it yet, but the more I thought about it, I was like, you know what? They need the Magnum to feel like an absolute donkey kick, and apparently it does, which I'm very happy
and that's
for.
the thing, like some people initially, when they heard the news, when people started earning it, that it was a special ammo weapon, which for Destiny kind of like nomenclature, special ammo is the green ammo. And they added with this latest season infinite primary ammo, which is like the white one, so that you never run out of ammo for like normal ad clear weapons, or like the weapons you're constantly using. People were like, oh man, we wanted it to be normal ammo for that Magnum to feel like something we can always use. And I'm like, yeah, but I also see why Bungie wouldn't, because then why would you use that weapon, any other weapon, in your primary slot? So
especially if it's as powerful as it supposedly is.
Exactly. Maybe if they had made it an infinite ammo thing like their other primaries, it wouldn't have hit as hard. And you
would have been fighting between that and the battle rifle, which is infinite primary.
Yes, and it works well. Like you have and they made the battle rifle an energy weapon, so you can have both of them.
Buttery smooth too.
Yeah, especially
I zoomed in on it. I haven't even touched PvP with it. Oh my gosh! But I played through the new offensive mode, which I do really like the variation of it, because something like the override is basically the same thing, completely and utterly.
And the astral alignment. Also.
Astral alignment just frustrates me, because so many people like don't really play the objective. They just keep shooting stuff. And like, it's fun when people know what to do, but even then it just feels like it drags down. The pacing slows down a lot of it. But this one, it was like, all right, do this thing, run to this next area. There's like some cool little platforming going on that I was like, oh, this is really fun. You can
and 3 different boss rooms.
And 3 different ones, which is fun, because like if you pick wrong, it doesn't really hurt you that much. But if you get it, I think the buff stays for a while.
Yeah, and you can get better rewards at the end. Yeah, then you can go to Zer's treasure room to earn more stuff.
Yes, and I found out there was this random encounter of like, you finish the game, you beat the boss, and then it says, oh, like the spectral horse or whatever wants you to like have more rewards. If you can kill these enemies in a certain amount of time, you get more stuff. And I was like, what? And it was like this tiny little smooth brain part of me that was just like, more loot. And then of course we like go off on it, we get more loot, and I was super excited about it.
Yeah, so and you haven't played the dungeon yet.
No.
Right? The loot cave dungeon that they made kind of like as a reference to the meme from Destiny 1, that the loot was so miserly there that the only way to actually make progress in loot back then in 2014 was
you just
spending hours shooting down a loot cave.
That's what I was there for that, and I loved. I didn't sit there doing it too much, because I was like, I feel like I could do other things with my life, but I would run in there, take whatever stuff that they shot up, and then I'd run off and do something else. But it was fun to always see people firing, squatting that cave.
If there's something that I have to like give Bungie credit with this 30th anniversary, is that they're being very respectful of their heritage, not just from Destiny, but from their previous games, and having a good fun with it. Like Xur quotes "This price is right, dude."
Really?
Like, yeah, sometimes like straight like word for word. It's like, yeah, they're in on the joke. They're like having fun because it's a party, it's celebration. And I'm so glad they put this out, because we're in the middle of the longest season they've ever had because of the Witch Queen delay. I stopped playing Destiny when I completed the seasonal story. That's like every week back in October.
I think I did it on accident. I was just messing around, and then we were like, all right, congratulations, you did all the story. Wait, what?
Yes.
I did?
Yeah, and the thing is that it's very clear that this season was supposed to go all the way to November, because November was when Beyond Light last year launched. So that's where they had a time. So because they had this extra lead time, they were able to sneak in the celebration that at least if you're still interested in playing Destiny, or you're a current Destiny player, but you didn't find you had anything to do, there's now more new cool loot to grind. There's a new that dungeon's long, but it's really cool. I can't wait to take you through it when we can.
I want to as well. Does this last until Witch Queen?
Beyond.
Oh, so the anniversary is gonna keep going after Witch Queen?
Beyond this, because of its extra, because this was not a season pass, this was a separate thing that you had to pay for.
That's what I was like, man. At first I was worried that I missed out on Season of the Lost because I think I was like 85 rank. So I was like, shoot, I didn't finish it. And then when I logged in, it's still there. I was like, oh, thank God.
You have to and that's the thing, like, it was until this thing started that I completed my season pass to level 100, because we have a clan. There's our clan leader. Well, I'm kind of technically a co-leader of that clan. He made me one.
You're definitely the only person that actually does anything.
Yes. So our clan leader, he has a season pass level 370 something, and that's just for bragging rights, because they just keep playing the game over and over again. You don't really earn anything other than maybe the bright engram that gives you like the cosmetics if you keep leveling up past level 100.
Yeah,
I don't do that. Once I'm at 100, it's like I got the rewards that they offer me with this $10 season pass. I'm good.
Right. I guess the only thing you could do is farming or getting the what was the other thing?
The power level.
I don't know what else happens anymore. Yes. Yeah, like leveling up your light, getting better rolls and all those things. But then that's where things get really tedious, and that's where I kind of check out. The challenges. That's what I was going to say.
Yeah. And I had reached the point with Destiny that I just want to keep playing Destiny when I'm having fun with the activities playing Destiny, not just endless grinding for stuff. And there was the Grandmaster Nightfall, which I still haven't done. But that's like super hardcore activity. That's like super high power level. With what was there before this pack, I didn't want to keep grinding, but because some of the harder difficulties for the activities that they have added now gives me an incentivation to maybe try to sneak up a little higher with my power level. That may then eventually lead me to do a Nightfall, at the very least, because there's new stuff. I can engage with that, at least for a bit. But I'm glad that I stopped playing Destiny when I did, because if not, I always say it, is like Destiny is a problem for me.
It's junk food that turns sour in your mouth.
Yes. It never turns sour. You just want to keep consuming it. It's an everlasting
But then it makes
burger.
you sick is what the problem is.
But it rarely, like, I played Destiny since 2014 nonstop, like every year. Only 2016 I didn't really play it because that's when there was a huge content drought until before Rise of Iron. But Destiny is just something that it's so fun to play for me, and I always find it so rewarding every time that I log in, and I just lose my time and then my backlog grows. So
true.
So yeah, so I have to keep that in check, especially when Witch Queen launches, which is in the middle of the tsunami that's coming next year.
They may have to wait for me, honestly.
Yeah, and I can wait for hopefully sometime during break we do the dungeon, because I wanted to have the Galhorn and get to experience the Galhorn finally.
I want to make sure that shows up, because that's not like disappearing at all, right? The dungeon? No. Okay, good.
And they're going to add more dungeons, but they're locked behind the digital deluxe edition pack of the season pass. Unless you want to pay for dungeons separately from season pass. We're going to get to that.
I think I bought the deluxe edition. I don't remember anymore.
Okay.
I kind of I zoned out. I went into a coma, and all of a sudden I was like $40
you bought the digital deluxe edition of Beyond Light. There's the Neo digital deluxe edition for Witch Queen. So.
Oh yeah, okay. I didn't buy anything with Witch Queen yet.
Yeah, I'm doing it piecemeal because there was the $100 version that gave you the expansion, the 4 seasons for the next year, plus the anniversary pack.
Right.
It basically, buying it piecemeal, you're only paying $5 more, and I'm like, I'll buy them as I go, because spending $100 is spending $100. So,
it's pricey.
especially for something you don't have in the moment.
Yes.
But enough of that, because ironically, the day after that, the Sword of Destiny competitor / predecessor, also finally, after a full year delay from when it was supposed to come out, and having its multiplayer launching 3 weeks before, Halo Infinite is finally here. 6 years I waited. Can you imagine? Like, because I played Halo 5 back in 2015 and finished it then.
I am so sorry to anybody that played Halo 5 and then had to wait that long for the sequel, which wasn't a sequel.
Mm-hmm.
And man, I'm really glad that I played it, and then literally the next day, within 24 hours, I was playing the next one, because that would have been rough.
Yes. Now, this is gonna be our topic, and I'm gonna try to keep it as spoiler free as we can in relation to what's happening in Infinite. But the thing is that there's some things with Halo Infinite that feels like baggage from Halo 5 that it has to be talked about. So we're gonna have to like spoil Halo 5 in a way. So
Yes,
so
Halo 5 spoilers, but I don't think even enough happens in Infinite to really spoil, at least to the point that you and I are at. Because I feel like everything that we know at the point we're at is what I knew before I played the game.
yeah, I will say this: it's very interesting that this is obviously it's clear more than ever. I had heard it before, but now it's clear now that I played it. Halo 5's campaigns, the reaction to that really stung 343, and the pivot they had to do.
Oh yeah.
Yeah,
Okay.
it stung them. It's like the negative reaction of what they had written for what they called the Reclamation saga. That them going through this no new banished arc, which and I just to kind of give a preamble is like this group of brutes from, if you remember the Covenant, the more gorilla like enemies, they're now the main enemy that you face. They're out to destroy, like their entire goal is to destroy humanity. They almost did, based on how the game begins, sort of like in a cold open in media res thing. And it definitely feels like, yeah, we have to do something drastically different from the previous game, despite the previous game literally only giving us one choice based on how apocalyptic the ending of Halo 5 was with the Guardians.
Yeah.
None of that is followed out of here. Or more like this. This is how it feels like. It feels like Halo 6 happened.
Yeah, and this is Halo 7.
Yes, and we jumped into Halo 7 and they're slightly like referencing Halo 6. Like in very vague terms of like, no, that happened. No.
Yeah.
Did you do that? Oh, so it's like, I feel so bad for the people that are gonna jump into this from a story perspective and the way this game jumps you in. It's like, I don't know. It's like
It's not a good jumping point for the series, even though the gameplay is. The story is not. I mean, I really thought we were going to get some kind of explanation for Chief's grappling hook. I thought we were going to get justification for the exact details of the companions, to say the least. And they just kind of off-screen got rid of everybody from 5.
Yeah. Where's Fred?
Said,
Where's
like,
Linda? Where's Kelly?
Yeah, they were just like, I think they briefly said like, oh, like there are others that are elsewhere or something. And I know they mentioned the dude that's in charge of the Infinity.
Lansky. Yeah, Captain
Lansky. They said he like made it to a life raft or whatever they called it, one of their escape pods, but that he's MIA basically. So like they broad strokes it immensely. And I'll let you have another thought there, but I do want to jump into
yes,
something.
and I feel because of doing it this way, it makes the opening hours of this game really awkward.
Yeah.
Really confusing and not fully formed. It really feels like you skipped the game. It like you can't escape that. And they make it clear that they skipped on the story. And now they're like slowly piecing it together again for people that are interested through audio logs and all of this. And that's it really sucks that they didn't stuck to their vision in a way, that instead of they're doing the, okay, you didn't like that, but let us really tell you, like, believe in us, let us finish this story. This is literally I think I made this equivalent. This is The Empire Strikes Back and then having to start with A New Hope again. Basically that's what happened with Halo 5 jumping into this one, because it definitely feels like, yeah, we definitely want to force us clean a start as possible, but not really, because we're always having this double entendres everywhere about things that happen that you didn't see,
Right.
especially coming from Chief and its new AI, the weapon that's basically a Cortana, and basically
What I wanted to ask was, is it the same voice
Yes.
actress? Okay, I wanted to make sure that I understood what they were saying by doing that. um, because I'm starting to understand what they're going for, I think.
Mm-hmm.
And actually, there is a point that I think you're not at yet that
Mm-hmm.
they had like a very brief glimpse at the true nature of Chief's mission.
Mm-hmm.
Um, and it had me go like, oh, but also,
How much further it is from the demo mission? Which, for reference, if
I
anyone
think it's
saw the
pretty close
okay,
because
so
there's a point right after that is you have to get like 4 pieces of code, which just means you have to go to 4 places and do a thing and
mhm.
then go back to this other area. So I did that, went back to the area, and then they kind of talked briefly about something. But
Mhm.
honestly, it was similar to like the not the Atriox, but the other dude, Esteban, whatever his name
Escar
is.
Excarum, I don't know. It's the dude that preaches at you, basically.
Yeah,
That
the guy
stops.
that preaches at you. It's kind of like that, but instead of him preaching at you, it's the weapon kind of talking briefly about random things, and then with each step, she's like a little less confident about something going on, and then at the last one, they kind of hint at something. But anyway,
Yeah. What do you think of the Banished? That's like the villain of this story. I'm
so
very.
yeah, what are your thoughts first?
I'm like. They seem so one-dimensional that it's like, brood, bad. I'm evil. I'm gonna fight you. That's basically. There's soliloquies, but that's basically the gist of it. It
Yeah,
feels like
it's I think that's both the praising point and the downfall of the brutes in general because they're
mutants.
very simple, but that's also like their point almost. I don't want to like jump to their defense because I feel like the brutes are the least interesting to
Mm-hmm.
me, even from their introduction in the second game. I didn't even like fighting them. I was like, they're annoying because you had hurt them enough, and then they'd go crazy and kill you with one hit. And I was like, this freaking sucks, man. I
Yeah.
hate Halo 2. I just want to fight the elites again because they were just so much cooler to me.
Mm-hmm.
Um, and so it was honestly kind of awesome in 3 whenever you were friends with the elites again. So I'm glad at least the elites are in this game.
Mm-hmm.
That at least adds a little variation to it.
And also smart because them making sure that the Banished was a splintered group from the Covenant that apparently they were introduced in Halo Wars 2, which I didn't play. I
Right.
was kind of like in my list of maybe I have it on Game Pass. Maybe I'll dive in, but RTSs are not really my thing. But but yeah, I like that at least there's justification, and also why some of their weapons are different because they're not Covenant weapons; they're the
Right.
Banished weapons. So like they're the carbine that's so used to like the Jackals. I think that's
Yeah.
what
They
the
the
Scouts.
purple ones,
Mm-hmm.
and that was what the plasma rifle was. So that's
Mm-hmm.
like what all the elites use now, but it operates like the carbine.
Mm-hmm.
And then you've got the sniper rifle, which operates much more like a DMR than
Mm-hmm.
a sniper, but it's
Because
also
there's no
really
DR
good.
because they took out the DMR for this one, at least the human DMR.
Yeah. No, no, the well, so
It's a
they
different
have
kind of
the
weapon.
yeah, it's when I found out it was full auto, that blew my mind. I went, "Wait a minute, you could just fire this thing?"
Mm-hmm.
So anyway, at least for the idea of the banished, I like that because they're clearly against the covenant, like they're not allied with them, they
Mm-hmm.
don't have the rule that the covenant had
They
of
don't follow the
never
religiosity.
yeah, they don't follow the you can't use any human weapons, which justifies you being able to find human weapons much more often, which
Mm-hmm.
is always a good thing for
With the
me.
grunts that's carrying like five
Yeah,
weapons and they kill it and then they blow.
and
Let me just jump into this.
yeah,
The gameplay
okay,
of this game's awesome.
it
Because
is.
let's just transition
I
to that. It's like it's so good.
I do have one thing left for the story
Huh?
wise jumping in because from my thoughts, they wrote themselves, as you said, into a corner, and then it ended with this. All right, anything could happen at this point at the end of Halo 5.
Mm-hmm.
It almost is like that was their best choice of action is to skip over whatever immediately happens because no matter what they do, it's going
Mm-hmm.
to get criticized. So what's the next option is you just kind of jump over that, jump
Mm-hmm.
ahead to the next big thing happening. Because to me, I always thought like at the end of Halo 5, Cortana's kind of like she does this show of power, but it doesn't seem like she's actually going to like start a war.
Mm-hmm.
So when they did that and like all the AI kind of jumped, that's the only thing they haven't answered yet is that a lot of AI like just straight up betrayed the humans
Mm-hmm.
and then disappeared. But at the same time, it's like, all right, well, clearly there's going to be a power vacuum because humanity just got freaking domed.
Mm-hmm.
And then the Covenant kind of isn't really a thing either. So what better way than the random splinter group cult to show up and say, all right, we're going to beat y'all butts. And just jumping into this, like, all right, well, they're off on a new adventure. Let's see what they got at this point. We'll just catch up with the other stuff later on. I can kind of suspend my disbelief long enough to just like, all right, well, they'll get to that eventually when they get their act together and understand what they want to do.
Yeah. And I want to, like, at least story-wise, especially because we haven't beaten it yet. Hopefully I can beat it by next week. Because it's not supposed to be very long, which I'm very happy about, despite it being like a proto-open world game. I want to give them until the very end of the story to see if they really pay off and what exactly happened to Cortana, because that's probably the most jarring thing, just to go into spoilers, that in Halo 5 she literally was like this godlike figure controlling so much technology through the Guardians, and about to be in the version controlling civilization with the Reclamation, and then you start this game and she's gone. Like, she's been eliminated. Which again goes to be like, yeah, I wish I would have wanted to see that. What would have been the conflict of that?
But that's just it. No matter what they would show you, it wouldn't have been enough. Like, it's like a Half-Life 3 situation. No matter what they showed, this amazing epic war between Cortana and the Guardians and humanity, it wouldn't have been good enough for any of us, I think.
Yeah, the Guardians were such a mistake for the lore, especially their massive, like, game-changing status with what they did with Worlds, just them appearing and emerging. And there's Guardians in this game, like, at least there's ideas of Guardians. You see it sometimes plastered, so it's not like they're completely erased from the canon. It's just so weird.
In the first mission, I think, or second mission, they showed one that like had its and then one of them was opened. It had like the yellow instead of the blue, and he's like, or the weapon's like, oh, what was in there? He's like, nothing good. I forgot that they even said that.
That's the kind of dialogue that's like the wink wink for the people that know. So again, you see them trying to toy this interesting line between like not trying to get too dug into their previous lore they're trying to move away from, especially because this is not a reboot. If this has been a complete reboot, they would have been so much easier for them to like really strive for this is the jumping on point for Halo. But even though story-wise it makes it messy, gameplay-wise, I knew the gameplay was fun just based on the multiplayer that I had been playing off and on from 3 weeks ago till now. But Halo in an open world, it makes so much sense.
It really works when you break it down, because it's I think you said it possibly, it's just basically the first two missions of Halo on a loop of like you're in a ship and then you're out on this open world helping Marines and finding your way on this vast, strange world. And it's so fun to like basically have that moment all over again every like few minutes as you help another squad do more things.
And it has this Skyrim thing of you can climb the mountain in the most jankiest way, but it allows you because of the grappling hook. The grappling hook is an amazing game changer for Halo.
It's such a fun thing to do.
Have you fully upgraded it?
I have one thing left on it.
Yeah,
because...
you have to fully upgrade it. That thing is especially because when you do the zooming thing, obviously you already got the upgrade where you electrocute the enemies, which is like stuns them when you're
which is very helpful to stop them from counterattacking.
Yes, because this game can be really tough sometimes. Like I've died more times in normal than I would have liked.
I hit that point, because you'll go up against an entire army at some points, and those rockets will kill you in one shot. The tanks will kill you in one shot. It's you really got to stay mobile.
Yes, and not only that, like have you done the Superman punch yet? When you're like when you're like zooming in and you hold the melee button, you go into third person.
I didn't quite understand how they were asking it to be done, and I was like, why is this not working? I realized that melee is not the R1, it's the grapple. I have to click R3.
I was gonna ask if you kept the control scheme as default, where it has like zoom and L, like LB has the grenade and RB is the grappling hook, or the other armor things, which is like, it's crazy how I read this is like Ryan McCaffrey from IGN said it, and he makes sense. It really feels like Halo 1 and 3 combined. Halo 1 had the most expansive environments. We got that back. Halo 3 introduced equipment. they are now become so
Yeah.
intrinsic to the gameplay, because it's not just one equipment per time. You can have like the 4 different equipment at the same time, which is thruster, the grappling hook, a threat detector, and the deployable shield, which I never use the deployable shield and the threat detector.
I use the portable shield when I'm like really in trouble and I just need 3 seconds to get a little bit of help. And then I've used the threat detector very rarely, but every once in a while I'll remember. It's mostly because I forget which bind it is.
And that's the problem. It's like, if there's one thing that I have to criticize this game's controls, is the way you change grenades and equipment. It's like you press for grenade, it's D-pad left.
Yeah.
And then when you press it one, it takes the menu, and then you have to press a different direction for the equipment. Before, it was just clicking D-pad and it will just cycle you.
I wish it was just keep hitting that
until you find
and
it.
It'll just switch it. It would be so much easier than like, all right, I'm in the middle of chaotic nonsense, I need to hit the button, and we're like, which was it? Okay, I'm dead.
Yeah, exactly. It requires like it will require more of a muscle memory. So at least for the equipment, I finally got it, at least between the thruster and the grappling hook. To tap to the right is grappling hook, right and up is it's the thruster.
Dash.
No, is dash. So at the very least, I got that. For grenade, it always takes me a little bit. It's like grenade left, I think is frag, then the up is the
and
then
it depends on what you have in your inventory. So usually I'll just throw whatever's equipped, and then I'll usually end up having 2 of almost everything by the time I remember my grenades, and I'm just like
and just spam it.
And then everything dies. Problem solved.
But back to the grappling hook, when you do the Superman punch, which is holding the melee button, which is the right stick, like goes into third person, and he just like boosts the stuff when he's like zooming, and it can send a shockwave that if you have enemies around it will stun them or send them flying away. I keep doing that over and over, and it never gets old. And the greatest feeling of like, sometimes there will be enemies that will throw you the fusion coils. If you're quick enough, you can like grapple it and then just send it.
I did that for the first time last night because usually I'm not paying attention and I'll turn and it's like, whoa. But man, the feeling of playing like you're just an action hero is so fun, because you're just running in, like grapple hook the thing, throw it, kill that dude, use the grappling hook to pull a gun to you to shoot. It just feels amazing,
especially when you don't stop moving and you're chaining everything together. It's like the most fun in a like kinetic shooter that I played since Titanfall 2. It reminds me a lot of that.
And it helps that I spent so much time learning the grappling hook in Titanfall 2, because I can get like that little tree. If I can move the camera at the right time, I can shoot it, and I'll like whip around. I did that whole thing for these 2 bosses, and it was the duo of hunters that were like really powerful, wiped out my squad. And then I'm like, they were in this swamp area with like a tower in the middle of it, so I'm grappling around the tower to avoid all the explosives. And it was so fun because that was like the only way I could stay faster than them. It just felt so good.
Yes, it's and then the having to go sometimes doing the open world stuff, and you go recruit some of the soldiers that are scattered. And then if you rescue some, then they stay with you, and then you can take them to like a big assault side mission. And they're really helpful because somehow they have like really some of the harder hitting weapons, and they will really save you. And it just makes the game feel like a realization of the sandboxing nature that the Bungie Halo games were always had intrinsic to them, especially by the time we got to Halo 3, which is why that trilogy is so beloved, and why the past 2 343 campaigns didn't have that, because they decided to go more for raw beauty and more control environments, so you didn't have as much fun playing around with the sandbox other than its shooting, which was solid. Halo shooting has always been top tier. But
that's a good point, because I never really thought about it, and how Bungie's Halos, the set piece is the environment, the hub area, and I'm using the hub in correctly, but you know how it's like
The
you'll have a
sandbox. In the
small linear
sandbox.
area, yeah, the sandbox, but it's like it's all about that one big wide room, quote unquote, area, whatever, in their levels, and that's what you have the most fun with. And then I didn't think about it, but yeah, you're right, 4 and 5 almost didn't have that except for like one or two moments. Like 5 had that last level where we had to split up, and that was probably the most fun part of that mission.
Yeah.
And part of the game as well, because it was like, all right, you go to beta, I got to alpha, and then we like split up and did our thing. And they just didn't have that. And now I'm realizing that that's one of the best parts of Halo is you just have this wide open room or area, and then you just go off on whatever.
With so much option, and like, dude, the way you're gonna clear like an FOB, it's not gonna be the same way I clear it because there's options to it.
And you always have different weapons or a vehicle when you roll up there, and it always changes. I wish the Banshee was a little more powerful because I just get clobbered by one person with a shock thing immediately. I'm like, all right, cool, I got this. And then like, boop, and just drops out of the sky. And then I have to jump out because it's basically about to explode.
Now, the boss fights or the enemies with health, I tell you, those suckers. Man, especially the story ones.
Oh, dude, the one that you just finished with the Pelican area, I died so many times to them because they would do just the stupidest things, and they have weapons that can like, at least one of them has a weapon that can like two-shot me. I also didn't have as many shield cores at the time, so I was like really dying quick.
Yeah, I fully upgraded shield and fully upgraded grappling.
I almost don't need anything else, because like, what's even the point of like a fully upgraded threat detector, right?
Yeah, apparently the fully upgraded threat detector will give health to everyone. Like, that's
cool, actually.
Yeah,
okay.
So it'll make it like Destiny, that every enemy has like its health, so you can kind of prioritize. Oh, this enemy is almost done, so that would be cool. But at the same time, it's so out of my gameplay. Like, I already have my gameplay loop so set up between my grappling hook, grenade, jumping, and shooting that I don't think I can always have to be like, because I think it's D-pad down, right down to do threat detector. So that's like extra things for me.
I agree. I like to do it and then just forget about it because it takes so long to charge that and the shield back that you can do so much more with the grappling hook and the dash in between that. I want to ask though, what are your go-to weapons? You can split it between the factions because honestly I have some favorites for each, but
the battle rifle, oh my god, who would have thought that giving it more ammo would make it like such a versatile weapon that I just don't get rid of, especially because you can recharge kinetic ammo in some of the canisters that are.
I love that.
So it's like, that's awesome, because then that means that I can keep the majority of my loadout with me with no problem. And the brute handgun shotgun.
Oh yeah. Okay.
I don't remember the name, but it's like, it has like 8 bullets. And it hits so well. Like, it has good distance and it hits so strong.
It's not even really a shotgun. It's like a slug or something, because I can snipe people with it. But yeah, go ahead and continue.
Yeah, those have been like my go-to. And then if I see a bunch of jackals with their shields, if there's like a plasma rifle, I drop that brute gun and then just shoot them with because the good thing is that the plasma rifle actually, it's very strategically usable in like taking out that shield from the jackals, because sometimes it can be annoying that in previous Halo games you have to like hit the one area in the
small
shield,
part of their hand,
so they can like stagger and then just shoot them. So that's like, okay, at least I can use that weapon to overload them and just focus on that.
Have you tried grappling them yet?
Yeah.
What I love to do is you grapple them once to get them to do the shield, but it gives you your grapple back, so you can immediately go in for the kill.
And it's good. And if you have the shockwave that you're gonna get when you fully upgrade it, if there's all of them together, just one of them is gonna either send them flying away or it's gonna stun them. And it just doesn't get old. It doesn't get old. It's like, it's such a fun gameplay loop. Absolutely. Enough so that one of my biggest concerns going in that was borne out, that there's no biome diversity, hasn't really sunk in yet. Like,
because there is a good amount of versatility in what they're using. It might not be a different biome, but I would say I've never really felt
the lighting helps a lot in not making it feel too sterile.
And the time of day is always different, and it's never like just plain hills or something. There's always some kind of unique feature to it, whether it's a downed ship, a cliff over here, something like they're at least designed different enough that I've never really had the main problem of that. I would say, at least just for my weapons, I've loved the brute grenade launcher thing because that just shreds so much, especially the brutes with like the overshields. You get like 3 pulls of that and they're gone. I really like that. It's almost like the shotgun that bounces things around, the hard light weapon.
Yeah.
I love the design of that thing. It's
and
so
it melts.
sleek looking. I just wish it had more ammo because I use it and then it's basically gone forever. But I love using that. And then I have gotten to the problem of realizing that at the FOBs, you can spawn whatever weapons you want that you've kind of unlocked. So I can just get a rocket launcher whenever I want.
Also, don't you find it funny that when you're in every FOB that you capture for your cause, there is 4 weapon crates?
Yeah, okay, so I guess they designed that part with co-op in mind.
Yeah, the co-op that didn't launch.
That's true. I didn't think about that.
And
that
makes
like, that's a lot of
and
stuff.
you know what is like that makes me so sad because this open world is so well designed for a co-op. Can you imagine you and me like taking like assaulting all these FOBs?
It makes
together?
more sense why it's so difficult because it almost feels like it was made for you to play with one other person to like kind of back you up at times. I will say I feel so bad for the amount of Marines that I've brought to their deaths because I'm just like, all right, guys, we about to get it. Let's go. Honking the horn. We're driving out there. And then we turn a corner and it's just a bloodbath. And by the end, I'm like, all right, I survived. I've got none of the weapons that I had at the start of this, but we're okay. And then I turn around and I see like 4 dead bodies of the Marines that sacrificed their lives for me.
Now, have you like how much of the open world side stuff have you done of like collecting the Spartan cores, doing the FOBs, killing the high value targets?
That's actually what I did most of yesterday. After I did the missions to the point that I talked to you about. I stopped and then I went, oh shoot, I've been like forgetting that there's a Spartan cores in the multiplayer cosmetics, which is so cool of a concept.
Yes. It's such a good way of trying to tie these 2 very disparate modes.
Yes.
Almost separate games at this point.
And it's like, hey, go play the campaign so you can get cool stuff for multiplayer. I was like, sign me up. And I haven't looked at what any of that looks like yet, but I'm really excited to. But yeah, so I've been doing a lot of that with the high value targets and the weapons. Some of those are really easy. There's one that was like a jackal sniper, and I was like, okay, there's got to be a trick to this because it's going to be so easy otherwise. And I just rolled up to his little perch and then just meleeed him off the cliff and went, oh, okay, so that was awesome. It. And then but then there's others, like there's a dude that's just in a wraith tank and I couldn't touch him. I could barely do any damage outside of like a direct shot with like another wraith, and then he would kill me in 2 hits in the tank. So I was like, I gotta come back with something stronger eventually. But some of them, it's just you really gotta know the mechanics. You gotta be on the move. Like your buddies are gonna die like immediately.
Yeah, I love, you know, like over the past few years I've been mentioning how tired I am of open world games, especially because they become a lot of busy work.
Yeah, you were talking about how you were like, man, it reminds me of how done I was with Ubisoft open worlds.
Yes, but this one reminds me of when Ubisoft didn't jump the shark and littering their worlds with enormous maps with so many icons, and like this killing the high value targets literally gives you the weapons that you can then spawn at your FOBs,
which is awesome. I didn't realize that at first.
Yeah, capturing the FOB is like gives you opens up side missions for like the purple ones that you can go there, that then gives you more valor and it keeps unlocking other weapons through valor. So it feels like they have littered the world with enough stuff so that you can actually organically, in a way, it's so funny. I have been like, depending on where the Jello main mission takes you, I kept clearing stuff, and there's my dog. I just kept clearing, like as I went through the, it's like, this is so cool. So I didn't feel like, because sometimes the way the main missions are doled out here, because you don't pick them from like a list. You have to drive,
Right.
go there. If you were just doing that, you're just going from point to point in the map, and that wouldn't be too fun. But by organically trying to do stuff, that whatchamacallit, that just makes it more organic, more fun for you to go through that world. And also the world is not that big of a problem.
I realized I zoomed it out one day and realized that it really is just like this little island or set of islands rather.
Mm-hmm.
I realized that there was a spot I wasn't supposed to go to yet, and I was able to jump across the gap, and I grappled onto it, and I went forward, and then it just stopped me, and I dropped straight down. So there are a few invisible walls where they don't want you to go apparently.
Yeah.
But it's funny to find those because for the most part there are none, and you can just, oh, is this area kind of ending, and then there's just like this wall of silver hexagons or whatever. You could totally like grapple your way around the corner, because once you've upgraded the speed at which the grappling hook comes back, you can sort of stay above ground indefinitely if you excuse me, have the right strategic placement, you know.
Yes. So it's definitely a great game. I think overall is to not make it this too long, especially because we still haven't finished it yet. Like, at least from a gameplay perspective, this has been very solid. And
it's so fun. I got so happy. And I want to say one more thing, and I'll let you finish it. The fact that at the Game Awards, Simu Liu showed up and was just like, yeah, so I didn't want to be here. I've been wanting to watch Twitch streamers playing Halo Infinite because Halo came out. Did y'all hear that?
Yeah.
Like, it's sitting there with my Xbox back in my room. And I was like, man, it made me so happy because I was watching it on my phone, and I'm playing Halo Infinite on my computer with my little controller in my hands, and I'm just like, what a time to be alive. Like, I get to play a new Halo. This is just fun. So many other people are out here. Gaming is more acceptable, and I just got really excited about everything.
Yes. I would say it's like, considering the 6-year wait and the very, very public troubled development that Halo Infinite had, especially after the last year, and how clowned it was when it was unveiled in an official gameplay capacity. I'm really glad that playing through it, at least so far, it doesn't feel like, sometimes when you know a game has been troubled, sometimes you can start seeing at the seams. So it's like, oh yeah, you can really tell. And the only times that I can really tell that this game kind of came in real hot was the cutscenes sometimes, because it's the only place where no matter what you do and how you put your settings, they're the only place that don't run as smooth. They stumble, they stutter a little bit. But as you're in gameplay, especially right now, I'm able to like run that game at full 4K at a very close 60 frames, and with a GTX 2060. You have a GTX 1060, so I'm a full generation. But 1080 is yours, right? Yes. That used to be super strong back in the day. It's not a 2060 or even the 3090s now.
Weird though, because like the Final Fantasy 7 Integrate is recommended at the GTX 1080. So it's funny how you have some things that are like, it's totally fine, but then you have other things that are just really taxing, which apparently Halo is. But I'm not super surprised by it either. It has made my my computer's mortality all the more prevalent, and that's one day I'm gonna have to figure out how to sell it and buy a new one.
And I'll say, especially because when I started playing this game, I actually downloaded the Xbox One version because I kind of wanted to see it.
How did that go?
Shockingly, it's not that bad. It, for an 80-year-old machine, is like, it's as good as it can be in such an old machine. I will say this, at least frame rate wise, it's definitely not as smooth as the Master Chief Collection or Halo 5. And resolution wise, it has a dynamic resolution that goes from like 1080p to 720p sometimes. So at times some things look really grungy, but at times, especially because the art style that they picked, I think it was smart. Because it's an art style that can scale well to lower end and higher end. So you're playing on low
enough that
you're playing it on low settings, and it doesn't look bad, right?
I haven't had a problem with it outside of like when you get really close to some things, it feels like I'm playing Halo 3 again,
Mm-hmm.
where I'm like, okay, well, this looks a little like, but for the most part, it's the fact that it performs well enough that
Mm-hmm.
I'm like, especially on my actual monitor, it's easily 60. Like, it doesn't have any problems. For some
But when
reason,
you
on
put it in
the
the TV,
TV,
yeah.
even if I try to keep it at the low settings, lower resolution, it's not really made for that, I guess.
Mm-hmm.
But like, yeah, on my monitor, I have no problems
I'm
whatsoever.
able to put a lot of the settings high, and the only thing that I have kept low is texture quality. And the thing is that even by putting that, because I'm also boosting resolution, the lower quality texture doesn't really affect me because I have a higher res and all these
Yeah.
other effects still like in medium or high settings, so it looks pretty nice. And it makes me excited for the eventuality of me playing it on maybe a Series X sometime within the next year or two whenever I acquire one. But I'm glad that with my computer I'm able to get like very close to what people on Series X is getting right now. So I will say definitely the lack of co-op, the lack of Forge, multiplayer doesn't have playlists right now. You only have to do like a quick playlist or the ranked, and it chooses you at random if you're gonna do capture the flag. And in other modes, if you just want to play like a team deathmatch, I think it's really weird that they didn't launch with playlists, but they're launching at the end of this year before 2022 rolls out. So you can definitely feel like they barely scrapped it in coming in, but it doesn't. It's so funny. What game came out a year ago, Paul? Exactly today when we're recording.
Oh, Cyberpunk?
Yeah.
Is that what happened? Yeah.
Yes. You just compare. It's so funny. Both of these games, obviously Halo's dev problems, more public. Cyberpunk's came to light when we saw the state of the game. It's really interesting seeing these two as cautionary tales that Halo really took an L last year to really give it that extra year. And while it didn't 100% cook it in a way, because you can see tiny bit in the seams where maybe it's not as polished as it can be. It's like 95% there that it's like solid, and I'm having so much fun with
every
it.
second of that year for sure, and
Mm-hmm.
it makes me sad that Cyberpunk, even a year later, doesn't have nearly the level of effort and care put
Mm-hmm.
into fixing it at this point.
Ex-
But I can see how it was like similar idea where you had this crazy sandbox, you could kind of do whatever you wanted with the builds, and
Yeah,
unfortunately,
and I will say,
here we are.
and then I would say, at least unless it really falls off a cliff near the end, like I feel that, yeah, this is definitely 343 stronger campaign. Maybe it's not its prettiest because I think Halo 4's visuals are just like a punch of like tech in a way,
Yeah.
but at least trying to feel the essence of Halo. I wonder how much Joseph stayed in that. He was the writer of the original trilogy and directed Halo ODST, that he got brought in at the last minute to kind of take this project to the finish line.
Mm-hmm.
This is the closest Halo has felt like Bungie era Halo. Maybe it will not hit as hard anymore because that era of Halo is like so encapsulated now, and
I don't think you could recapture it if you tried either.
yes, but is being a really good Halo game a problem? I think, especially after 5, whose opinion really soured as time went on. Obviously, campaign was never well received initially, but people were really high on its multiplayer. But then the entire Halo 5 package was like soured as this wasn't a good moment for one of gaming's most venerable long-running series. And I'm just glad it's really good. And unlike last year, we're ending the year on a high note with like a big profile release that's like really good. Not like a year ago, we started the calamity that was Cyberpunk, and 7 days later had to be removed from the PSN because that's how busted the lower end versions of that game was. So I'm really glad for 343, really glad for Xbox. This cements that really Xbox is back. In a year that they had Psychonauts 2, Forza Horizon 5, Halo Infinite, the console version of Microsoft Flight Simulator, what they did with Game Pass, that getting big games like Outriders and MLB The Show, what they did to Sony with MLB The Show in one of the most embarrassing moments of the year. It's like, I feel Sony, especially starting now, they gotta start worrying because Microsoft is serious again, something they weren't for almost a decade, and I'm glad for that. And now, Paul, we're about to move into the news, so press X.
Or from news.
So, Paul, the Game Awards finally happened, like we mentioned earlier, and that happened yesterday. It was a 3-hour monstrosity. Here's the thing. The show's always 3 hours, but this one felt even longer than that. What was your thought of the Game Awards, just as like a general thing?
It felt like you took the idea of a Game Awards show and then you just threw all of the trailers and things on top of it so that you almost forget that it's Game Awards. Because there was like, yeah, some of the bigger things, but obviously just like in the Oscars, a lot of stuff is shown during commercial breaks and other things going on, but this felt like it was mostly about and focused on the world premieres, quote unquote, which some of them are like, okay, well, this is kind of already shown. I get that it's a world premiere of this trailer, but sometimes it didn't really jive with me. And it felt a little cluttered at times.
Yeah, the thing is that the Game Awards has always been that, and the thing why people love the Game Awards is not really the award show itself, but the world premieres. So yeah, people treat it like an E3 with an award show kind of like tacked onto that.
Right.
The thing is that previous years, I feel Jeff Keighley has found almost close to the perfect balance of being able to honor the award, like the award section, while keeping the thing exciting with the new reveals, while also showing all this different advertising that clearly funds the show. This year it felt like overkill, not just in the world premieres, but it just felt like we kept getting ads of so many games that we already knew about, almost back to back, and things not even that relevant about the games, like a bunch of movie stuff. I would tune out at times, and then a new trailer would start that I would think it's an ad for something, and then I realize, oh no, it's that. It's like, it feels like, I think it's like the lawyer that followed Hogloss is that he didn't know what the Rubicon is between what funds the show and the things that fund the show to make it happen. It feels like a threshold got crossed here because it just felt too excessive at times. And the thing is that was mostly in the back half. The initial section of the Game Awards, amazing, great reveals, and like a good balance of great reveals and awards that I was like, I remember telling you, it's like, man, we're getting E3 caliber reveals right now. This is kind of exciting.
Some of them were really good. I'll give it that.
And then after that, it just it's the balloon that just kept deflating. And I would say the Game Award winner, like, I called it a month ago. I called it a few months ago what was gonna happen. So I was like, I'm glad that happened because it pays off following the people vote on this thing, so you know kind of where the conversation's going. But yeah, it's like this. I mentioned it in the chat, especially after I slept through it. It's like, this is a weird mashup that the quality of the announcements Keighley put in this one is probably some of the best he's had, but the quality of the Game Awards itself is probably one of the worst he's had, like outside his world premieres. And that's a weird dichotomy to have. I would say this is definitely for shows. I think he did a much better job with Opening Night Live and the Summer Game Fest, but still, we gave us a bunch of cool stuff. But before we get to the cool stuff, Jeff Keighley hosted its 8th edition of the version of the Game Awards, and it came with all these awards. So he's the notable winners from the show. So, Best Game Direction, Deathloop. Best Narrative, Marvel's Guardians of the Galaxy. Best Art Direction, Deathloop. Best Score and Music, Near Replicant version 1.224744871139. Best Audio Design, Forza Horizon 5. Best Performance, Maggie Robertson from Resident Evil Village. Games for Impact, Life is Strange True Colors. Best Ongoing Game, Final Fantasy XIV Online. Best Indie Game, Kena Bridge of Spirits. Best Debut Indie Game, Kena Bridge of Spirits. Best Mobile Game, Genshin Impact. Best Community Support, Final Fantasy XIV Online. Best VR AR Game, Resident Evil 4 VR. Innovation in Accessibility, Forza Horizon 5. Best Action Game, Returnal. Best Action Adventure Game, Metroid Dread. Best RPG, Tales of Arise. Best Fighting Game, Guilty Gear Strive. Best Family Game, It Takes Two. Best Sports Racing Game, Forza Horizon 5. Best Sim Strategy Game, Age of Empires 4. Best Multiplayer Game, It Takes Two. Most Anticipated Game, Elden Ring, which by the way gave us the Pot Friend. And Player Choice Game of the Year, Halo Infinite. And Game of the Year, read it.
It Takes Two.
Yeah. So Paul, what do you think of the people? What do you think of the games that won these
For
categories.
the most part, I think it's pretty spot on. I'm sure there were a couple here and there that I think should have gone home with a better example. Like, even though I didn't play it, I feel like Psychonauts 2 should have got something.
Yeah.
I know enough people love that game that I feel like it should have really gotten something there. Ratchet and Clank that didn't get anything.
Didn't get anything either.
Dang. I'm glad Best Fighting Game was Guilty Gear Strive, because a lot of the competition wasn't really that great, and I'm kind of surprised Nickelodeon got nominated. Yeah, I mean, yeah, I get it, it's nice, but it's not really that great, especially when you compare it to other fighting games. Really glad Halo Infinite got Player Choice Game of the Year. Happy.
Which is funny that it got that just on its multiplayer, because the campaign literally came out yesterday. So,
and it wasn't eligible for it. So I mean, hey, I'll take the publicity for it. And I mean, they're absolutely going to plaster that all over their marketing, whether or not it was just the multiplayer. Hey, good for them. Really glad for It Takes Two just winning both. I think it was just multiplayer and Game of the Year. Yeah,
and Best Family Game.
And Family Game, you're right. I enjoy the heck out of that game, even though I haven't actually finished it quite yet, because I play it as often as I'm willing to deal with it, and to kind of pull my wife along sometimes. She's great, but she's also not knowledgeable about certain game mechanics, so it's a slow process. But yeah, Metroid Dread, all right for action adventure. I think there was a couple others that I probably would have given it to. Resident Evil 4 VR, absolutely. Final Fantasy 14 Online definitely wins community support and ongoing multiplayer game. I think.
The ongoing game, like the best games in service.
Yeah. Best narrative, Marvel's Guardians of the Galaxy. I didn't really expect that, but I'm really glad for it, just because I haven't quite played it yet, and I know a lot of people said it was really good story, and I was just like, okay, well, I'm sure it is. But like,
it's so funny. I'll let you finish, but
it was just like, it's like, I'm sure they must like it, but I didn't think it would be best narrative at the Game Awards kind of caliber, you know what I mean?
Yeah.
Yeah. What do you
It's
like
say? It's so funny that I always kept seeing that 3 games got snubbed from like the full Game of the Year like title. It's Returnal, Forza Horizon 5, and then there's the people that champion Guardians of the Galaxy. How funny that those games really won rewards, and some that were in the Game of the Year thing didn't get anything. Think about that.
That's crazy, because usually anything that's nominated for Game of the Year is usually nominated for other things, and at least takes home one of those things, you'd think. But the fact that it didn't win anything is... it's a little sad, because I know so many of those people worked their butts off, and just the fact that it was all nominated for so many things and didn't get any of them just kind of makes me sad.
Yeah. For best art, like for example, I feel best art direction should have gone maybe to either Psychonauts 2 or Ratchet and Clank Rift Apart, because obviously I've said a couple things with Rift Apart. I really love that game. Rift Apart is a really great game.
You said game direction or art direction?
Art direction. For our direction, for like Rift Apart, I mentioned that the use of the SSD was oversold a little bit, so that's like the only disappointment in it. But it's a really excellent game, and its visuals, my god, it's like an incredibly pretty game. It looks way prettier than Deathloop. That's the thing. Deathloop has a cool aesthetic, but is it the best art direction? Considering they gave it best game direction, which I'm like, that's always one of the weirdest categories in this thing.
It's very subjective.
It's very subjective. So it's like, I would have wanted at least Psychonauts or Ratchet maybe get best direction there. Especially because, ironically, Deathloop is a game that I've cooled off on a lot since I beat it. I don't think as highly on it as I did when I finished it. Obviously, it deserves some recognition, but yeah, it's like, especially, let me see, did it win something else? Or was it, no, it's just those two that Deathloop got. Yeah, and Kena, a game that obviously I haven't beaten it, but I remember my enchantment with Kena initially. It makes me so happy that it won both Best Indie Game and Best Debut Indie Game.
I feel like it's a little redundant personally, but I mean, I'm glad Kena brought home both, honestly, because it deserved
I think it's that because you can have indie games that have sequels, so that's where Best Indie Game kind of comes in. debuted indie game. This is a new
Oh, okay, so
franchise.
that's
So,
I see. Okay, so it won both for overall
hmm
between sequels and okay, got it. I wasn't sure what that really meant for sure. Um,
what I think of the vampire lady, Lady Dimitrescu, the performance one.
I honestly think that was like a thirst vote personally. I mean, like she's great, but every time I'd look at her, her face just kind of didn't match with everything else. I don't know if that makes sense. Like every time I look at her, like you get that fold whenever you like smile. The RE engine is really bad with that, honestly.
hmm
Of all the cool stuff that it can do, that weird hyper realistic look on the the face just it doesn't do it for me as much,
hmm
and that's one reason like DMC5 I feel like suffers just slightly. Resident Evil 2 suffers slightly, just in that
Yeah.
tiny look.
RE engine is like so photorealistic to 95%, and then there's that 5% that kind of breaks it.
Yeah. Also, she's not even in the game more than like 3 hours of gameplay, much less like maybe 4 cutscenes. So I'm like, yeah, she was all right, but you put that up next to some other best performances, even just this year, I probably wouldn't have gone with it, honestly.
I will say this just for trolling purposes. I'm just glad that neither Psychonauts 2 or Metroid Dread won Game of the Year for one specific reason.
Yeah, PJ hasn't come to chime in at all
Uh-huh.
since the Game Awards,
Yeah.
so
So
goes to show
that's
how that
why. That's
played
why
out.
because he kept saying, and to me it's like because I follow the industry very closely. I follow the people that vote on these things.
Oh yeah.
So I saw the chatter. I saw this game being championed. So I was not surprised at all It Takes Two won it. And ironically, It Takes Two is the only game from the list of Game of the Years I haven't played. And I was the one I was like, that's the one that's going to win based on the incredibly positive chatter I hear from people that have played it. So who was right? So yeah, it's an interesting picks. I'm glad that some personal ones got some recognition here, and it makes me even more excited for Marvel's Guardians of the Galaxy to like finally like finish that game because I played a little bit of it, but I got so deep Red Dead in my Red Dead replay, and then Halo kind of came out. That's a holiday game for me, and I can't wait to really see why the story of this game is so champion. But to be fair, the Spider-Man story, the Marvel Spider-Man story, really great also. So Marvel like story modes in these Marvel games, they might be onto something because even Marvel's Avengers story, not a good game, but the story got praise. So
a good point. And then when you break it down to the perfect amount of archetypes for an ensemble cast of characters, you can't do much better than Marvel, I think.
yeah,
Even outside of like the MCU movies, just devoid of all that.
Yeah.
It's just such a solid idea. That's why comics work so well like that.
And Returnal winning best action game. I hope that game eventually gets cheap enough for you to try it. Like,
maybe one day. I honestly have such a low interest in trying it that I think it would have to go down to like $10 for me. I don't really want to spend money on it.
Yeah.
The aesthetic isn't really my thing, and I'm not a huge.
Oh, it's so my
really
thing. The Alien Geiger style is
Yeah.
so my thing.
Sometimes, but I think I like more with like Alien, the tech more than the aesthetic, if that makes sense. I don't know. But yeah, so that's pretty much all. I mean, last mention I'll probably say is really glad Tales of Arise got best RPG because
I was gonna ask you, so does that make you excited for the potential of you getting it over the holiday?
It does. I mean, I would say that one gameplay trick that I watched right when it released of like it basically playing like a Devil May Cry game where you just, if you have it right, you just have these combos and you work together with your team. And I was like, that I could get with that. That looks really cool. The aesthetic looks really cool. Some of the characters are really well designed. I actually lifted some of the colors from one of the characters because it matched really well with one of the characters that I designed myself, because I was like, I like this purple and I like this specific gold. Like they just got it right for all that stuff. So yeah, that's really all I wanted to mention with that. And of course, Genshin Impact getting mobile game.
Yes.
Of course, Genshin for anybody. I know how it's pronounced, but the person reading it unfortunately did not, and we made fun of her horribly. Is it all right if I list this second wave?
Yes, you can.
All right.
So number 2, the Game Awards also hosted a slew of world premiere trailers for already announced games and all new games. Here are the games shown on the show. Paul, take it away.
Yes, it was the first one was Hellblade 2: Senua's Saga,
Mm-hmm.
Star Wars Eclipse, Wonder Woman by Montreal. Was it called Monolith?
Yeah, Monolith.
What am I saying? Alan Wake 2, Horizon Forbidden West, Destiny 2: The Witch Queen, Slitterhead, which just sounds like it's a typo waiting to happen. Lord of the Rings Gollum, the game that nobody asked for, Somerville, Cuphead, The Delicious Last Course, also known as DLC. I didn't even know Miss
The Delicious Last Course,
but that was a hilarious little song that they sang. Sonic Frontiers, looking like Breath of the Wild meets Halo Infinite.
With Sonic.
Oh yeah, and then Warhammer Vermintide 2 Warrior Priest. That was a point where I zoned out and I completely missed everything on it. Warhammer Space Marine 2, which I did not play, but a lot of my friends did, and it was one of those games you always saw on sale at a GameStop and like whatever it called, at GameStop for sale, whatever it is. And then you had Chia, which was the sort of Breath of the Wild chill vibes
from one of these state of plays that even has the guitar playing from Last of Us.
Yes. And then
Zack's Nightmare.
Doki V, I don't remember how they pronounced it, honestly.
I don't know, but that's
the weird chibi
chibi
children in the hyper-realistic world playing sort of like Pokemon, but also like the Facebook metaverse that they're working on. Yeah, so that looked horrifying and adorable at the same time. Suicide Squad, Kill the Justice League. Gameplay.
Yes.
Forspoken, both gameplay and a new trailer. Saints Row with gameplay. Tiny Tina's Wonderlands, and I'm going to touch back on some of these as well. I just wanted to say a couple things. Of course, the Game Awards showed Among Us VR for PlayStation VR specifically. Metal Hellsinger, Genshin Impact expansion / DLC people. Star Trek Resurgence, a Telltale game. Rumbleverse. Oh wait, the Expanse Telltale game. We didn't mention that one.
Yeah, we didn't put it there.
Rumbleverse, Plague Tale Requiem, Dying Light 2 Stay Human, and GTFO. Also, Elden Ring new trailer, which I think was only just the CG trailer that probably is going to play when you put the game in, and then a new game called Arc Raiders and the Matrix Awakens, the Unreal Engine 5 trailer trial experience, whatever you want to call it. Yeah, so they had a lot of stuff.
And
Alejandro, do you want any quick thoughts on all this?
Just the first 4.
I lost you. Oh, there you are.
No, yeah. What was happening with the internet? Well, I didn't.
You froze for a brief second. Okay. Yeah, what you got?
Thank God, no. So, just with the first 4, that was like an incredible showcase. Hellblade 2 initially revealed in 2019. Actually, when they surprise revealed the Xbox Series X at the 2019 Game Awards, remember, they shadow dropped us like, this is what the new console looks like. This is the name.
But that was just a cinematic, wasn't it?
Yeah, it was a cinematic. And now this was gameplay. And it looked better than the cinematic. I don't know
how they do this stuff, honestly.
Yeah, that was like visually, I'm like, wow, we're here now. We're absolutely here now visually. And I feel Hellblade 2, now that it's like fully backed by Microsoft, is going to be the kind of third-person action adventure game that will compete with the likes of God of War and the ilk from over at Sony.
I think they really would have to bring their scale up for Hellblade to do that.
Well,
but it's got the potential for it.
It has the potential because now they're a Microsoft studio. Hellblade 1 was an indie game with a AAA look, using
like full motion video capture for people and stuff because they couldn't put 3D models in there.
Yeah, now this is Hellblade via Microsoft full backing, and you can see it now. And the thing is that the original Hellblade was beautiful looking also for an indie game, for considering they self-published it, self-funded it. So it has massive potential to be kind of the kind of game the Xbox needs, because it's the only one area where Sony trounces them in so many areas. Then Microsoft has the RPGs, the shooters, the racings to kind of like to be the counter programming. Star Wars Eclipse. At first I thought that was Jedi Fallen Order 2 at the beginning. But
I thought it was going to be Knights of the Old Republic 3.
Or no, the remake. Remember,
the remake. That's what I meant. Sorry. I as far as my thoughts briefly on like Hellblade, that was a game that I just kind of, it came and went for me. I liked the idea of it, and then I was just like, but do I want to try playing it? I don't know. And this one looks, I don't know, something about Senua's design for me kind of bothered me. The cameo.
Yeah.
And I didn't vibe with it as much, but this one looked cooler. She has like this cool looking cape thing now, and I like the way she could interact with the other people and the flaming spears and stuff. Her screaming was honestly a little grating to me. I know like that's the point, and it's supposed to be like this horrific battle going on, but she's just like, attack! And I was just like, okay, lady, like bring it down a notch. Felix, chill. But yeah, so Star Wars Eclipse was really cool looking, but once again, it was just cinematics, and that means nothing to me.
I think this just confirmed from when we were in our 20 episode, like in our episode 20 or 21, that the Quantic Dream was doing a Star Wars game, and that became real. That's like.
Is this supposed to play like a David Cage game though?
That's the thing. Like supposedly, based on the rumors back then, is like this was going to be completely different from the usual David Cage.
That has me a little worried because I mean I liked the Quantic Dream games, but I know a lot of people didn't. And then also, if this is something outside what they usually are used to dealing with, I'm like, man, I'm a little worried about all that. Because I don't know.
Yes,
I'm just pessimistic.
Yeah, and that's the thing. Like, the Quantic Dream games have always been like divisive. Like, I absolutely love Heavy Rain. Beyond Two Souls, I don't like. Detroit Become Human, I like a lot of it. I don't like some other stuff, but it's a really great experience to go through. It's actually a very enthralling experience. I think they have an interesting way with storytelling, and the rumor is that this Quantic Dream game is made by a studio that opened over in America, because Quantic Dream is over in France. So I'm always more optimistic for studios kind of breaking out of their mold, especially after Horizon, because that's a third-person open-world game done by a studio that only did first-person shooters, and it worked out well. So that, and Jedi Fallen Order, another one.
Definitely didn't get those animations right on Jedi Fallen.
Yeah, but yeah, Jedi Fallen Order was a game from like a first-person shooter studio. They made a third-person adventure game. So that I will always give the benefit of the doubt to that. But definitely, I want to see more. But it's just the idea that we're finally getting content outside the comics for the High Republic era. I haven't delved into those books, but just the idea that finally, after Disney had been like playing it way too safe with what it was dabbling with Star Wars, and especially how they're not doing anything with the sequel trilogy after how lambasted they were over their last two movies, that the High Republic at the very least is like an original idea, an original era, so it allows for. No, and not this. It's like it's complete. It's not Old Republic. It's not Phantom.
It's basically Old Republic, but minus the Sith.
Yeah, it's like it's the before everything went to hell with Phantom Menace over, because that was the end of the Republic. This is the Republic at the height of their existence. So it's interesting that we're finally getting content, because we're not gonna get a High Republic movie anytime soon. There's a TV show, The Acolyte, that's supposed to be in that High Republic era. A game is a good place to get us immersed, especially because it's one of our favorite mediums. The Wonder Woman game, though, obviously we only saw trailer, but just the idea. This is the Middle Earth Shadow of Mordor and Shadow of War people. They haven't done anything since 2017.
Using the Nemesis system alongside this.
Exactly.
I wonder where it's going to take place, though, exactly.
I would hope in Themyscira. That would be cool.
Yeah. Who knows, I guess, how that's going to play out with the exact details. But, I mean, Wonder Woman is awesome. Adding the Arkham style of combat and the Shadow of War Nemesis system to that is just going to make it even cooler.
And think about it. This is the next generation of that Nemesis system. That hasn't been used in 4 years now. We got new machines now.
Yep.
So, and I'm just glad that outside Gotham Knights and Suicide Squad Killed the Justice League, which we saw a little later, we were able to we know that there's more DC stuff coming. Eventually, Paul, you're gonna get your Superman game. They're climbing the list.
really hope so.
Yeah,
Just
I mean,
really hope so.
you're technically getting a Suicide Squad, but in the worst possible way for you, what you
The
want.
worst
Yeah.
possible way.
So, we finally got more gameplay for Horizon Forbidden West. That was watching it. I was like, this is bittersweet because I could have been playing this year, but it's so close. Like Horizon is so close, and it shows once again like the versatility that they're adding to the combat, the verticality they are adding to things that I feel is gonna make even the people that liked but didn't fully buy with the original game, looking at you, feel like they're gonna get something more out of it. And obviously we got the Destiny 2 the Witch Queen trailer. I feel it just re-emphasizes the vibe of what I'm excited for when we get to the Witch Queen and her throne room, and seeing in action some of the new Void abilities. Like I think I saw the shield, the Titan shield being thrown in first person, so that's kind of cool because I feel
shield was different. The Warlock had like some kind of blast that was going out. I don't remember seeing anything from the Hunter, but
their Hunter's also getting something
because they're getting something. We also skipped over Alan Wake 2 briefly, but
Alan Wake 2, I was like, I can't believe it. 13 years later, it's finally happening. But that's the thing. Like with Alan Wake 2, they releasing the remaster this year was clearly a signpost that
Remedy, it makes more sense now.
Remedy reacquiring the Alan Wake IP from Microsoft, because since Microsoft wasn't doing anything with it, it meant that they're gonna do something with it. And here, the interesting thing is that now it's becoming a full survival horror game. Alan Wake was an action game with horror elements.
Right.
Now this is survival horror. I'm very curious because Control had some creepy stuff that was a little scary at times.
It was there, yeah.
Now imagine them going full of that.
Well, that's almost like the power of Control, because it mastered that idea of the psychological horror rather than like the jump scare style of horror, you know? And I vibe with that a lot more. I love the creepy thing instead of like weird jump scares and stuff like that, like Evil Within compared to like Control, for instance. And you trade things off when you do stuff like that. Even Resident Evil, I think, delved a little too far into the horror side of things as far as the cheap side of jump scares for 7.
Yes, but I would say even Resident Evil 8, like I found that game really creepy. So that's
it was, but I still think like they delved more into the environmental and psychological side of things rather than the hey, we're gonna throw things straight in your face and go hey all the time.
So throwing it in your face like Slitterhead, which is the next.
Yeah, and honestly, I was like, I don't even care about Silent Hill all that much. So I was like, oh, okay, cool, look at that. And then it started off really creepy, and then it like played Doom music and just crazy action-y kind of looking things. It's almost like how we felt about Ghostwire Tokyo. And I was just like,
literally what I thought is like, it's so funny that you got Ghostwire Tokyo over here and you got Slitterhead basically almost going for that same vibe. It's kind of what happens. It's like, it's the Deep Impact Armageddon thing that you get to two similar ideas almost at the same time. Yep. What's interesting is that this was one of the first of 2 Blue Ball segments for the Silent Hill community of that game being mentioned and not appearing, but all this mentioned, it's obviously happening. I can't believe that everyone's like, Silent Hill has become this thing that is stringing along so many people.
But is it? Because who knows at this point?
I mean, I sent you a picture of Abandon, right? That suddenly Abandon showed up in my What's New section announcing the playable prologue is coming Q1 2022. I'm like, F you, I don't care. So, but it's like, that's neither here or there. It would have been fun if it had been here. Lord of the Rings Gollum. That's actually the first next-gen game ever announced, Paul, before Godfall. Yeah. I wish I would have seen gameplay.
I'm angry at that.
Yeah. I wish I would have seen gameplay of it more because it's been almost 2 years since it was announced. So
they have to sell me so hard on this game.
Yeah.
Gollum is literally like my least favorite character of the whole Lord of the Rings.
And I love Gollum, so we're already like in divergent paths there.
I hate him so much. He's so frustrating.
Somerville, that ship-looking thing. You know, Somerville is a designer from Inside and Limbo. That left played. Yeah. So I'm glad that those vibes are shining in like a different, less creepy setting. This isn't quite a new game. We've known about this game since 2019, so it just kind of came back again. Same as Cuphead, The Delicious Last Course, which was originally announced at E3 2018 at the Microsoft conference.
I didn't even remember they did. That's how
it's insane that
announcement went.
But that's the thing, like it's not quite insane when you realize that it takes them forever to do that game because of the kind of animation they do. Because that they're literally doing it in the 1920 style animation, and they're taking the time for it to look like that.
Isn't it?
Everything's hand drawn.
Yeah, so, that makes sense.
Yeah. Sonic Frontiers. That's one that I always love when a 3D Sonic game is revealed, because I just know that it's a beginning of the hopeful phase for the Sonic fandom before they just get massively crushed. Like massively crused.
They also got their new movie trailer too, which seemed unrelated, but hey, I mean, good for them.
I would say like I'll give a trailer of a movie based on a game kind of belongs in the Game Awards because it's a game related. And
I would accept it more than whatever Guillermo del Toro.
Yeah, the Guillermo del Toro thing was just that didn't belong there.
What the heck are you doing here, dude? Get out.
Yeah, that absolutely did not belong there. Only for him to kind of send in a video doing a cheeky thing. It's like, oh, this looks like Death Stranding. And then making, you know what has a good art style? Silent Hill. I hope they do another one.
I hope they do something. Shut up, Guillermo del
Toro. They know, Paul. They absolutely know.
I almost feel like, but that's exactly what I would do if I was Guillermo del Toro. I would mess with people because I'm not even in the gaming sphere, but I know that people want that, and especially since he was involved with that with Kojima, he's probably just as salty. So he's just like,
absolutely.
Yeah, okay. You know that thing that I was working on that was totally going to be awesome and Silent Hill related got canceled. F you, Konami.
And not only that, he had a THQ game that they announced at the Game Awards that never happened because THQ went under back in 2010. So the poor man hasn't been able to like have a game come out with his full association. Obviously, Death Stranding had him, but he wasn't even fully in it. It was
like redubbed over it or something.
Exactly. He only had his character model. So
yeah.
Two Warhammer related things: the Vermintide 2 Warrior Priest, which I played Vermintide 2 on Game Pass. I was like, this is fine. Warhammer Space Marine 2. That didn't really click with me with why people were screaming when they announced it, but apparently Space Marine, the original, came out in 360 and was very beloved, so that came out of left field for many, so that's cool. Chia, or Techia, I don't know, we saw it already at the...
Chia.
Yeah, it's basically a follow-up to the State of Play we saw in September, so nothing more to that. Doki B. The chibi thing, I just enjoyed the idea of something tormenting Zack's existence. So we got an extended thing of that. And then there's the amazing meme.
Which I want to clarify was the same song, and they were just doing dance moves. It wasn't even actual gameplay. Just gonna clown on Doki V and all the weird people that like it.
And not only that with Doki V, it's like the meme you retweeted is like, Jeff Keighley hyping this is the world premiere, and it looks like this.
And it's like a Nickelodeon children's show. Yeah. So talk to us about the cool thing that you like.
Yeah. Suicide Squad Kill the Justice League. I'm glad we finally got to see gameplay. This is absolutely not Arkham. It couldn't be any different than Arkham. It looks like multiplayer Sunset Overdrive. I love Sunset Overdrive. So anything that can give me another Sunset Overdrive style game that we can play in co-op, that would be good. It's like, obviously you have to divorce yourself from the fact that you have to fight Superman. So, but,
still not happy about that, honestly.
Yeah, but it looks like a fun time. It absolutely looks like. And Forspoken, a game that I wasn't so keen on when I saw it at the PlayStation events from September. Like, I remember I was like, I'm not quite feeling this. I felt it a little bit more. It felt more fully formed here. It didn't feel as jarring. And we got a May release date. Glad, because like I feel May should be a good time for some of these games that are in the bloodbath. That's gonna be the first 3 months of 2022 to kind of go there. The May-June space right now is a little empty.
Yeah.
And I feel like, look at Saints Row, which was the other one. You finally saw the gameplay that you didn't see at the Game Award, at the Gamescom thing.
That's right. I never actually did get to see that gameplay. So this was the first I ever saw of the gameplay, and I was really impressed because it felt like almost like Just Cause-ish, but like all of the mechanics looked solid. It looked really fun. It looked like that perfect balance that people are starting to strike
Mm-hmm.
between silliness, but also kind of serious, but
Mm-hmm.
also we're just messing around.
Yeah, this is definitely a step back from the jump the shark silliness of Saints Row the Third. I
Yeah.
mean, I didn't see dildo swords,
And
so
no, it did look really funny though, especially with the outfits and the
mm-hmm.
guns and everything. But
Yeah.
I mean, in the fourth one, they literally blew up Earth, so
Mm-hmm.
that was fully
And
jumping the
its
shark
DLC
from.
to and its DLC took you to hell. So
Yeah,
yeah,
that was just
my
weird.
thing is that Saints Row. What's funny is that I enjoyed what I saw back in Gamescom, but that's one of those games that for some reason got shrouded in a lot of negativity by so many people after its gameplay reveal, and I don't see why. That looks fun, and even more like in the absence of a new GTA game. That's I feel like that's what's gonna make the Saints Row shine, especially it launching in August. Remember that was supposed to come out in February, and then it got punted.
Yeah,
And obviously, they made the excuse that they needed to do it for more polish and all of that. And I'm like, looking at this already looks solid enough, and it's clear they did it because that game was gonna drown after Elden Ring got put in its release date, and it was just a week after Horizon, 3 days after Destiny Witch Queen. So this was a good time, and we need to fill up the year. Don't give us everything at the beginning and then not give us anything. I keep saying it's like we have 12 months to go for 2022, so spread it out. I'm glad things were getting that. I wish Tiny Tina's Wonderland would move out of March 25th. That game's gonna get destroyed.
yep. And it makes me kind of sad because I love the idea of it, but I almost feel like this is too little, too late for just the whole series. But it feels almost more Borderlands than 3 did.
Yeah, and I want to hear that. I said in our chat with Tiny Tina's Wonderland, this is a wait for reviews just to see how
Definitely.
similar or different it is from Borderlands 3. Borderlands 3 is a game that only clicked for me with its DLC, not its main story, so that's why I'm like apprehensive a little bit. So I wish like maybe sometime later in the year, maybe the big advantage is that this game's gonna bomb so hard in March because of where it's launching at. Because let's not forget, GTA 5 is also launching around that time. That's a 2K joint also, or a Take-Two joint. Just take Tiny Tina's Wonderlands out of there, put it somewhere else in that year. It may have a chance. Or if it gets so destroyed, it's gonna go down in price, and maybe I'll get it for cheap during enough time during the year. So
That's
maybe
what I'm looking forward
yeah.
to.
So maybe that's gonna be a silver lining for that. But yeah, not good. It coming out that year. Game Among Us VR, super quick thing. At first I was like, is this a Justin Roiland thing? Like when I said, but then when you turn around, it was the Among Us. It's like that's such a cool idea. Playing Among Us on VR and you getting killed by you turning around and you see someone.
I think that would be like low key really scary because you're walking through in VR and then you just see somebody staring at you from around the corner. Like that could really mess me up if I ever tried to play that. So
Yes.
I will probably stay far away from it.
Oh yes, Metal Hellsinger. I never heard of that game. I don't know if it was new or not. It felt like Doom. It absolutely felt like someone trying to copy Doom. I was like, that's cool.
It's a cool idea, but it also just doesn't look nearly as good. I like the idea of it because I almost do that with Doom already, where I'm like getting into the music enough that I'm sort of subconsciously playing along with it. But also it's like it looked like I got the whole game in that one tiny amount of trailer. It's like you follow this path, you shoot things in time with the music, and that's it. So, yeah.
Genshin Impact. I will say this, especially with this and Star Trek Resurgence, this is where the amount of advertising outside the Game Awards that were like putting ads all over this damn show was like waiting on me, that I tuned out. That when these two trailers showed up, I didn't even know there was new stuff. I thought they were promoting old
just
stuff.
The game.
Yeah, so the
I guess it's more like if you know, then it's like, oh, these are totally new people. But if not, then like there's more people in that game than I realized. There's like 50 people that you can get.
New character drops is like a big thing for that game. For people that are like play Genshin Impact religiously, like new character drops is like the big thing. But I'm not in tune for that. So the fact that I think it came after one of those weird ads that cuts out up to the to some of these streamers that they started doing the Game Awards. So it's like that, it just tunes you out. So that didn't make an impact for me until I read. I was, apparently Genshin had a thing. So the Star Trek Resurgence thing. You said it was a Telltale thing, but the thing is that I misheard it and I finally reread it. It's like ex-Telltale people made a studio and they're working on Star Trek.
Okay.
Which is funny because Telltale showed up in the pre-show. Yeah. I didn't put pre-show stuff because I forgot that they had a big stuff. But yeah, they're doing the Expanse. That's cool.
Which I never watched, but I know some people are really into it. So
over on Amazon. Them. So it's one of the most beloved sci-fi shows right now, especially in the wake of not having a show like Battlestar Galactica or Caprica. And it's
Mandalorian being kind of
MIA right now. So, and immediately we got this Rumble Burst game that looked like Fortnite, but it was like a punching game. It's like games that look like Fortnite don't do it for me. So
I kind of thought of Megamind when I was looking at it. I was like, man, just imagine if you had a really cool fighting game with Megamind. I don't know. I was being weird. I was tired.
Plague Tale Requiem, that was revealed last year. Yes. This one had a little bit more gameplay. It feels, from what I've seen from the gameplay of the original Plague Tale, I haven't played it. I have it on PS Plus. That's what's funny.
Yeah.
That it seems like a more elaborate Plague Tale, but I don't know if that's true. I think you played it.
Yes. Plague Tale 1 is like very linear, and the only things outside of that, you have collectibles and then you have upgrades. So as you play through the game, you slowly start using the materials you get, but you can never like go back to old parts of the game. It's like you're very clearly playing through the story, and you get like a small area to maybe walk around in, and then you go through like a door into the next segment of the game. This looked way bigger in scope. Like there was like a field she was running through. I was like, okay, that's much bigger. The crossbow is new because she used to only use her sling. That was like her whole thing. I'm glad because I feel like this is going to be sacrilegious. I felt like the gameplay started getting a little stale for me by the end because
everyone says that. Everyone says that for that game.
There's only so many variations you can do on the sling between what you can do, and just when you think you're like, oh shoot, now I'm about to really get it, they just invent a new type of enemy to like negate that specific ability. So I'm like, this is frustrating now.
Yes. So I think I've always heard about Plague Tale is that it's kind of like it's a flawed gem of a game where its story and vibe is so cool. Its gameplay is very a little limited, but it's enough to make people really champion it, and I'm glad it's getting a sequel. Then also another sequel, Dying Light 2 Stay Human, a game that got delayed into the Bloodbath. We could have been playing it now. Why are they
showing us a full CG trailer
at this point
when they've got all of the gameplay they need? Like, did this just get like it missed its deadline or something? They're like, all right, we'll hold this in our back pocket, we'll just throw it at people.
Yeah, Dying Light 2, like that trailer did nothing for me. Like I was already tangentially excited relatively for after we saw it a few months back. I didn't need to see it again. Crossfire X, I didn't put it in the list. I added. It's like that's something that we should have been playing back in December 2020. It's funny that the campaign that's made by Remedy and it looks kind of cool.
I don't remember they made that. I thought this was like a Chinese developer.
That's the thing. Like the game, it's like a Korean shooter. It's like in Korea, like the Smilegate or Slangate.
It's apparently huge over there though, because it's already out, isn't it?
It's like so big outside the US.
Yeah.
I heard some people try the multiplayer. They were not that big of it, but the campaign, which will be available for Game Pass because they're doing it for Xbox, being made by Remedy, I think it could be a fun shooter campaign. The thing is that it's launching on February 10th. If it wasn't releasing on Game Pass, this thing would have been dead in the water based on its release date.
Yeah.
GTFO. This is a game that got revealed back in like 2016, 2017.
I thought it was already out, honestly.
Yeah, it was just in early access. They just took it out of the early access and put it on sale.
Apparently it's really hard.
Yeah.
I think I had a friend that played it on PC. He was like, all right,
it's only
if you
on PC.
Don't play cooperatively with your buddies like really well, you're just wiped out. And I like the idea of it because there was like the cool door mechanics and they're like ripping through the doors and stuff. And then I thought, oh, this is going to get stale pretty quick, I'm sure. Yeah,
GTFO seemed to me like, especially when it was revealed back in 2016 or 2017 at the Game Awards of all places, that especially we didn't have Left 4 Dead anymore. Like Bad for Blood wasn't out. Now we have so many of these co-op survival games like shooters. That GTFO, I feel like, is just one more in the pile. Before, it was like more exciting, the fact that someone was taking Left 4 Dead's idea and putting it in something different.
Yeah.
So then the most anticipated game winner, Elden Ring, showed up
I
in the
didn't get to
trailer.
mention that actually earlier, but most anticipated game winner is so stupid of an award. I'm getting really pessimistic about a lot of this because they front loaded all the cool stuff. But why? It's literally all of the same nominees from last Game Awards, and they're like, oh, it won twice in the same thing.
Yeah, but literally Zelda, Breath of the like the sequel to Breath of the Wild was also nominated last year. God of War Ragnarok was also nominated.
All of it was.
Yeah,
it's all still there. It's like, what are y'all even doing with this?
It just shows that 2021 was like a lost year almost.
I almost don't even think, even if it was like new stuff, it's like, why is this even a thing? I don't understand it. It's just
it's just people. It's just people being excited about a game. That's what
I know.
That's
but like to make an award about it is just it feels weird.
Especially because games slip, so it's like you're just something wasting an award slot. So our creators, especially Elden Ring was just a CG trailer. Anyone that is into Elden Ring, they already know what they're getting into. They had a tech test recently, so that's a wait for me because I don't like those hard games. I think you're gonna dive into that probably.
I will. I think
I could have dived in when it was in January because no one else was coming. Nothing else was coming, but now it's in the middle of when my games that I want are coming. So that's a wait for me. But I know it's gonna be very beloved by its people. People love that tech test. Arc Raiders is an interesting third-person shooter at the scale that it was shown. I would say I liked its vibe, and I keep looking for games that I'm gonna want to play co-op. Especially if I can play it with you, that could be one. I like it. It's someone took the Lost Planet vibe without the snow.
Feel kind of like a Lost Planet. I almost thought this was going to be like the reveal of Starfield for a second. Then they started showing the gameplay. I went, okay, no, this is something else.
It wouldn't have shocked me. Yeah, Elder Scrolls V Skyrim was revealed at the time the Video Game Awards have spiked back in 2010. So
I thought the helmet looked the same at first, so that's one other reason why. But the movement looked really slick. I will say, when I thought about it all in the same encompassing thing, it was kind of just the same boss fight, just played with like really good editing. So I want to see more about it. But I guess that's kind of the point of a reveal is like, I want to see more about it. To be fair,
this was a newer game, so
I'll
give it to them.
The symbol, the emblem, very like old school Atari, like 60s sci-fi look to it. I was like,
like modern Destroy All Humans almost.
Yeah, it kind of did feel like that, and I like the damage that you could do to the like sort of mech spider creature, where you can like knock the limbs off and stuff. You're like catapulting over and throwing explosives. I was like, okay, that's kind of neat. I like that.
Yes.
So yeah, that was it. And last thing, Alejandro,
The Matrix Awakens and Unreal Engine 5 experience, something that they've been like Keighley has been hyping a lot. Like over this past week, especially that thing went for preload this Tuesday. I forgot to preload it, but I downloaded it after the show was over. It's like, this is basically now that the Unreal Engine 5 is available for developers. Fortnite got switched to Unreal Engine 5 recently. Now, like everyone that wants to make a game in Unreal, they're going to be using this.
Yeah.
Remember that tech demo that we saw back in 2020 that Keighley unveiled?
The one that like PlayStation could only play and Xbox couldn't or whatever.
Yeah, something like that. So I feel this is almost something in the same vibe, but a little bit more practical, and you being able to toy around with it in a way that really makes me excited about the possibilities of how games can look with this new technology, because Unreal Engine is such a common engine for many.
Yeah.
That
it's so like it's reaching into the uncanny valley level
absolutely.
of like I love the way it looks and the realism, and it's like it's so very, there's that specific aesthetic of like very launch title games or trailers around that time. It's like, this looks so cool, but then you're like, my brain doesn't like this.
Yes.
And I think we keep doing that, and I don't know if that's a mistake or if we just keep trying to push the envelope of it, because I love it. Don't get me wrong. I love the idea of it, as each time we're like, look at how much closer we're getting to photorealistic, and then it's like something's not right.
Here's the problem. Is the kind of technology that it only works in a specific point in time. Look at the photorealistic games from 2 generations ago, and look how they look now. You're like, ooh, I thought that was real. Dang.
It looks more and more dated, and that's why we've turned into we need style plus sort of photoreal,
exactly,
but not on certain areas. So I think it's cool though, and I want to dive into it at some point, but I haven't turned on my PS5.
Yeah, it's pretty, because you've been playing Halo. So
yep, I've only been playing Halo, and it's like I don't even want to bother turning it on to download that.
I will say frame rate wise is the only thing that I'm like not that impressed with, especially because of the advent of 60 frames we've been enjoying this past year and change. But just visually speaking, it's like just, especially not quite the character models in specific like lighting conditions, but just the way the detail is in the city and the sunlight reflects from it, and the kind of detail you see like in long swaths. It's very impressive what some developers will be able to develop now from here on out with this.
That's technology. What I love. It's like the possibilities are now
so,
like, all right, here it is.
Just FYI, Hellblade 2 is using Unreal Engine 5.
That makes a lot of sense.
Yeah, so it's there. We're here now. So I would say it definitely feels next gen in a way that right now next gen in its majority has been just damn it with my dog. Next gen has just been higher frame rates, better resolution, faster load times. That has been enough of an upgrade. It's been the expected upgrade you would expect from these machines. And sometimes some games can really push the envelope and give you something that's like, yeah, this couldn't have been possible visually in the previous console generation. Look at Ratchet and Clank. Ratchet and Clank is one of those games that is like, yes, maybe there could be a way to do the portal things that they attributed to the SSD in that game.
Fake it,
and fake it. And obviously there was the article that of this Lego people. We're like, no, we've done that teleportation mechanic before. That could happen on PS3. Yes, can it happen at this quality, at this fidelity? That has been the next gen. And obviously Ratchet and Clank, it's a PS5 only game, so that's could only happen within that console. So now we had this technology where now we're gonna, when we are slowly moving away from games that are also on PS4 and on Xbox One, we're getting close to there. We're finally within this year. Goodbye current gen. It's gonna be very exciting. I think this Matrix thing is a cool thing that uses something that people are very familiar with. They know how it looks, and use that in such a cheeky way, because Matrix was about pushing technology back in 1999. So
it was. They summed it up really well, honestly. The way they talked about it is like Matrix was like supposed to blend that idea between game and reality and movie and all that stuff.
So so definitely, if you have one of the next gen machines, try it out. It's really cool. It really is. And with that, that concludes the Game Awards section of the show. We have nothing else other than one more thing, Paul. Ubisoft, a few weeks ago, this is number 3, they announced that they were looking into implementing blockchain and NFTs into their games. And this week, they finally put a name into their... they finally put a name into their initiative, calling it Ubisoft Quartz, which they announced as a energy efficient NFT in games. And
that's so Ubisoft.
Yes, okay. And the best part is, despite YouTube doing its very best to hide dislikes, people downloaded the Google Chrome / Firefox add-ons to eliminate that and circumvent that, so you can actually see the amount of dislikes. This has a 30-to-1 ratio of dislike to likes.
It was 1,000 likes and 96,000 dislikes.
Yeah,
it was, if I'm remembering right.
Ooh, if it's gone crazy here. Another Ubisoft thing that people just immediately despise, to the fact that they had to delist that trailer, that they were going to use NFTs and try it with everyone's favorite game, 2019's Ghost Recon Breakpoint. Like, if they didn't want anyone to hate that game anymore. Let's one of the podcasts that I listened, it was Kind of Funny Games Daily, then Daily Show, that something I listened to, Gary Witt, he's like, it's interesting that they're using Ghost Recon Breakpoint instead of a more modern thing like Rainbow Six Siege, like a success. You don't want to test a nuclear bomb in a city. You want to test it in a desert wasteland, and that's
That's a good point.
Yeah, and that's Ghost Recon Breakpoint. It's like everyone already effing hates that game, so try it there. But every week or every 2 weeks, Ubisoft manages.
Keeps doing this.
They just keep on keeping on.
Oh my
it's amazing.
Gosh. How do they keep being so tone deaf?
Incredible. It's absolutely incredible. Eve's game all needs to go. It's CEO.
Yeah.
Like, obviously everyone wants Activision to Bobby Kotick, its CEO, to step away, which, by the way, yeah, I have to add that as a quick thing. They went on strike, a lot of the developers of Activision.
Yeah.
Yes, because they're at the verge of unionizing, which is insane because gaming is one of the only industries that hasn't fully unionized like other industries. So that would be like a massive deal, especially because one of the demands of the strike is they want Bobby Kotick to be replaced. So Ubisoft needs also replacement at the top, because it's insane that what they have had the same guy all the time, and all of this is happening under him, and everyone is just absolutely abhorring everything that they're announcing these days. So NFTs,
they need some new changes.
Yeah, absolutely, because just imagine they're gonna be selling Sam Fisher goggles as NFTs. That's where this is going. So F Ubisoft. And with that, Paul, that concludes our episode, the second to last for this year. Can't wait to see what we talk about next week.
It was exciting, and there's a lot to cover, and we tried to burn through it as much as we could, but trust us, we could have like 6 hours worth of content for all this nonsense.
Absolutely.
And everything between.
And I can't wait to see I can't wait for the eventuality to finally do like our own Game of the Year stuff when we have had time to digest our own things. Because I tell you, It Takes Two, not my Game of the Year because I haven't played it. So just because the Game Awards awarded that doesn't mean that's gonna be mine. So Paul, where can people find you?
As always, everybody, you can find me at Twitter at Dork of Art, also at YouTube, same thing, Dork of Art, and Twitch at AngelSword21. Alejandro, where can they find you?
They can find me at twitch.tv/theslayergiant, where you can find all the VODs for the Halo playthroughs that we did in the Road to Halo Infinite. You can find me at Twitter at @A_Segovia. You can find me at the Instagram at AlejandroSegovia93. And you can find some written content. I haven't written in a while, but you can find my written content at thecriticalcorner.com. I may do write-ups for my Game of the Year there. Who knows? So, Paul, it's been a pleasure. I'll see you whenever we play games, or even next week. And guys, all remember, guys and gals,
press X
to play.
Good night, everybody.
See y'all later.